Hello everybody, today is the 6th of July and we're starting the Flux Dev Meeting. So as always, we kind of start going through the current GA position and talking about some blockers. I'm not sure if much has changed on the actual board from last session. At least I can't see any major updates. The key things that we're still working on is pretty much controllers rewrite, then OCI and some issues with Git. I think that might be a few bits here and there that folks could also highlight if they so want. But one thing that I definitely wanted to ask is are there any PRs that need help for, to be reviewed, anything that folks are blocked, especially on the work towards GA, so we can actually prioritize that in terms of reviews. So anyone has any PRs that want some eyes on it?
I'm okay. I got the review for the OCI RFC and Sunny made some suggestions for the source controller OCI implementation.
I wrote some tests, end-to-end tests for the cloud providers, right? And image reflector. That PR is ready. That needs some review.
Brilliant. So what I will do is I will add here just a requiring review. If you could just please add the link below. Yeah. And then anyone else, if there's anything there, please just share that so we can prioritize that over all the PRs that comes through the day. Cool. Another thing that I was going to say is today I'll go through the board again, just to make sure that everything that is there is still kind of relevant. I think some things we might be able to deprioritize towards GA, a few things, especially around the testing on the Git front. But yeah, I'll go through that, and then on the next session, I'll be able to give a better update on that front. Does anyone else wants to talk about anything towards GA or any concerns, questions, doubts before we move on to the next topic?
Oh, I think we are good.
Awesome. So the next topic is document update. So one thing that we still have open is that I can see towards GA at least is the storage documentation. So I'll share the item. Where is it? Open tab. I'll share that. Yeah, I think that's one of the key things around documentation. I think there are some PRs. I'll check them later and all. But were there any major updates on documentation from the last session to this one? Or is there any specific points around documentation that people want to bring up?
What we are currently trying to do, no, I don't know if it's related to docs, but it's related to the website. We are trying to redesign the ecosystem page and showcase companies and products which offer Flux as a service, or Flux, they offer, I don't know, things around Flux, or they embed Flux into their offerings. And yeah, we want to get some approvals to make the page better. We need to show logos and everything. So we should reach out to people from VMware, AWS, Azure, and get their approval to display the logos.
Brilliant. That is awesome. Yeah, we have a PR for that. Was that PR already merged, right? For just the text of
Yes.
integrations.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. I will add the link here later. Brilliant. Anything else around documentation?
We recently merged a contribution from Kingdom, user guide on how to use GitHub Actions to create container images, which with tags in such a way that Flux can automate the update of container images. So it's just a short guide on how to, write a GitHub action to get the right tag format containing a timestamp, build ID, and so on.
Brilliant.
The inspiration for that was basically, I had remembered that I had already implemented Docker build in the manifest generation tutorial. So I went back to look for it and I found that the example only provides how do you do tags if you want to do tags the way we did tags for Flux v1, since that was the subject of manifest generation, was how do you get behavior that emulates the behavior of Flux v1. So I thought we should have an example that shows people how do you build container images if you don't have those legacy baggage. So
that is really good. If you want to then later just add a link on the docs update to that PR, I think that would be awesome.
sure.
Cool. All right. So unless anyone else have any point extra on documentation, we can move on to your next topic, Stefan, which is about the OCI status.
Yes, so we have advanced with OCI. I think the RFC is in shape now. All the core maintainers have approved it. So I'll do the number assignment and I'll merge it probably this evening. So with the RFC, we are good. With the implementation, we have great advancement there. Rashid from VMware helped us implementing authentication to container registries using static credentials. So this means now inside the API for an OCI repository, you can point to image pool secret by using spec.secretref. And it's not only that way of dealing with authentication. So that's one way. Another way is through specifying a service account name inside the object, inside the OCI repository object. And what source controller does, it looks for image pool secrets attached to that service account, loads them all, and figures out which authentication to use for that particular container registry. We have one last item for releasing the first version of OCI repository, the OCI repository feature and API, and that is the possibility of pulling artifacts from container registries which are self-hosted with a self-signed certificate. So Rashid is also working on this. So we have two use cases here. One is you want to connect with basic auth, but in order to connect to a registry with self-signed certs, you also have to provide the CA authority. Right? So you provide the CA key through a different reference, different secret. That's one use case. And another use case is you want to authenticate using a client certificate. And that's also in the works, where the secret, besides the CA, can also contain the client certificate keys. Once that's implemented with unit testing and everything, it will be merged in the OCI branch. then everyone here can do a final review of the OCI branch PI.
I think we've lost Stefan's connection.
Yeah, he's definitely frozen here as well. Let's wait a few seconds, and if he doesn't come back, we jump into the next topic. I think let's jump into the next topic and then we'll come back to him once he's back. So the next topic, in which Stefan is not part of, is the one about Go 118 with Philip.
Yeah, just wanted to say that I started working on this. I'm in the middle of moving also, so I don't have that much time or free time right now anyways, but just wanted to check. I know that there's some work that has been done already in the PKG repo with moving the CI and stuff like that to Go 118. I don't know who did that work. I think it was Stefan.
I think that is a issue that he created, kind of mapping all the work around going to Go 118. Let me just see if I find it. Stefan, just to do a heads up quickly, we moved to the topic Golang 118, and then we'll come back to you once this is done. Move to 118. This is the issue here that I was referring to.
Yeah, exactly. I know that one, and it states that prerequisite is moving the PKG repos to 118. I had a look at it. I thought I saw a PR that Stefan had done moving the CI at least to 118.
Brilliant. And this one specifically, do you need some help? What were you thinking about that?
No, I just want to give a status update. I know that there are some issues. I created a draft PR on the source controller right now because I know that there are some issues with SHA-1 X509 certs not being supported, or being supported, but you have to explicitly opt into them.
And I think on source control is definitely like a blocker with one specific unit attached, which I think it created an issue for as well. I actually link that to the issue you created, so we kind of have all things kind of interconnected. But apart from that, I've been running on Go 118 for a while, and everything else seems to work fine.
I'm working through the source controller test right now, trying to figure out really what certificate that is, and so because source controller is kind of the more important one, as it uses Azure SDK dependencies.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I will have a look as well if all the things. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, there's also a controller test in the source controller, which is failing because of and it only fails on macOS on Go 1.8 because of some like change in macOS that Go 1.18 is not happy with. So yeah,
it might be the Could you link? Do you have?
I'll send the link as well. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's all for me.
Okay, that's awesome. I'll go through that as well, see if there's anything else, and if the changes that we've done on the prerequisites, especially on the Golang with libgit2, is actually all up to pair with all these steps per project that he did define on the issue. So I'll go through that today as well.
I think the libgit2 stuff was done. I was just left the stuff.
Cool. Brilliant. All right. So shall we go back to Flux OCI status with Stefan?
Yeah, so before everything went down here, I had to click on mobile. So what I was trying to say is that we want to get the CA and cert authentication in, then do a final review of the source controller pull request, then do a release for the OCI feature without cert sign verification, which I think should come as a follow-up, and cert sign verification should be enabled for both OCI repository and Helm charts. It's quite the same procedure. You download some artifact from a registry, then you have to query the registry and find if that for that particular artifact there is a signature or not. So I don't think this should be implemented only for one of the two APIs. It should go for both of them because it's quite the same procedure. It should be the same code used there. Now it's debatable if we want to do PGP sign verification for Helm charts, or we skip that and we only do cosign verification for both only when OCI is used. I'm for going with cosign, but yeah, I'm open to discussion around that.
Okay, on that point specifically, is there any issue capturing that?
Capturing what?
Capturing whether or not we're going to support the PGP approach or just cosign?
No, I think it's a pull request already made for PGP.
Oh,
So
is there one there already? Okay. Do you have a?
the problem with that one is the fact that due to how open PGP signature work in with Helm, you have to store them on storage.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you repeat that again? I think. Well, actually, maybe we lost him again.
So yeah.
Stefan, you back?
I don't know.
Yeah. Now we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So you were talking that the PGP key needs to be, and then you're.
Yeah, we need to change. So because of how this was designed in Helm, we need to store the key in our ephemeral storage in source controller that brings changes to the garbage collection, to the retention of artifacts, and so on. So I'm for exploring the cosign route and see if that is more straightforward, which I'm assuming it doesn't require anything to be stored on our side. And if that's the case, maybe we should go with that.
All right. Do you have the? Do you mind sharing later the link to that PR so we can actually put that under the status point on the agenda?
Yeah, I can share that. It's the PR that I opened quite a while back. So Stefan will do that.
Brilliant. Thank you. Anything else on OCI, or shall we move on to the Git package testing topic from the previous session?
That's it from OCI.
Cool. Do you want to ask again the question that you asked on last session about the testing on the new Git package?
Yes, so we now have testing in both source controller for the pull logic, clone, pull, switch, branch, and we have unit tests, end-to-end tests on image automation controller for pushing a new branch, pushing to an existing branch, and so on. If we extract the Git package, which should contain also code from image automation controller. So the push logic should, in my opinion, should be in the Git package. I don't know what Sanskar plans are, but let's assuming the Git package will cover also pull, not only push, pull and push. We should also have end-to-end testing there so we can catch bugs before we do a Git package release to be used in source controller, Flux CLI, and image automation controller. So my question to Sanskar is, one, will the Git package contain all the logic needed by both controllers? And if so, what are the plans around testing?
Yeah, so the Git package has push as well, and there is in the PR that I've opened, there is a folder which has one end-to-end test which tests the entire flow, as in it clones a repository, it commits something, it pushes it back, then it switches a branch, then it commits something else, then it pushes it again. That is using our Git kit server, and I posted the link to that file on the chat. Then apart from that, in a follow-up PR, I'm going to add tests which will use GitLab and Bitbucket. So GitLab and Bitbucket have Docker images. So like in the end-to-end test, it will spin up those Docker images and test those against GitLab and Bitbucket. So to make sure that we don't break anything, especially for libgit2, because that keeps breaking every now and then.
Oh, awesome. So we will not depend on some GitLab or Bitbucket instance hosted somewhere. We can run them.
No, we can just run them. Yeah. Yep.
In GitHub Actions. Okay, great.
In
That's
GitHub
great.
Actions. Yeah.
Awesome.
On that point, I added Sanskar PR on the PRs that require review, because that PR specifically is blocking a few other things on the Git front that we need to get done for Jay. So if you guys could have a look on that, is PR 291 on the package repo. Cool. Anything else around this? Any more questions about the Git package?
No, I'm very excited about it.
Awesome. Brilliant. I think the last item on the agenda then is the help chart verification. So Sanskar, you can take that.
Stefan kind of address that. Like so like the PR that I have raised, but that's been like converted to draft and been blocked. So if you're gonna dump PGP verification, I can just close that PR. And then I don't know how cosign. I don't remember how cosign works, but as far as I remember, you have to download a key. Like you need to specify when you're trying to verify an artifact using cosign. You need to pass in a key as well, right? So won't we need to store that in our source controller storage? I'm not 100% sure, but I'll have to take a look. But yeah.
Yeah, the main difference is that the storage for the key is also the registry, but for the public key there is a ledger, a public ledger, Recur, and you can connect directly to it and verify it in that way. So
Okay.
I think we don't actually need to store anything, but of course we will find out when we get to the implementation side. So let's postpone this until someone looks at cosign, and we can decide there what we are going to do.
I can just poke around and see what it would look like. I can do that.
Cool. I will try to create tomorrow an issue around cosign, but not an issue for the actual implementation, an issue for someone here to look into it, what dependencies it brings along, because it depends on everything that we also depend, and someone has to look and see if there are conflicts there and what it means to use cosign as a library inside source controller and potentially inside the Flux CLI, because now we do. So after we will release the OCI feature, we have two parts here. One is, of course, source controller, who is able to download and ultimately verify the artifact. And the other side is the Flux CLI, which builds artifacts, pushes them to the container registry. Now, ideally, to simplify this workflow, people shouldn't have to install cosign separately to sign the artifact. Flux push could take a cosign public key and use cosign as a library, and people should only do flux push minus sign or whatever, and the artifact is also signed. That will be ideal, but someone has to experiment with it, look at it, and see how impactful or what is the impact of adding cosign as a dependency to Flux.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Anything else, guys? Because we run out of agenda topics. So if there's anything else anyone wants to talk about, now is the time, or otherwise we have to wait until the next session. All right, I will take that as a no. So I think that's it then for today. Thank you very much, everybody, and see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.